going to go through an overview of historical performance here. Then we're going to have videos specifically tuned towards individual policies for more accurate material. This video is going to provide an overview. So if you've been looking at the infinite banking concept and been shown illustrations of life insurance policies, what's important to note is that those are always projections based off of the company's current dividend rate and current insurance expenses. So when we look at the actual performance, that's going to tell you who's delivered the highest actual returns, not just projected them. All right, so I've got an illustration, which every insurance company always provides. And then I've got actual performance. This is something not many companies provide. Often, if you ask a company for this, the first thing they'll come back and say, oh, you mean dividend history? Sure, I'll show you our dividend history. That shows you our historical rates. No, we want to see the actual net internal rate of return. What did that policy actually produce for a consumer the past 10 years, 20 years, since a certain point in time, whenever? The net returns is what we want to look at. So for this video here, we're going to look at an overview, just comparing different companies out there and who has consistently produced the strongest actual returns. Now, everyone who's watched any of our videos, 4 major mutual companies have seen this. And what you're going to see in the next slide we're going to go over are several insurance carriers and showing what was illustrated, what was projected on an illustration when these policies were issued, and then what had actually happened. Now, just to give you a little bit of preparation, these policies are nowhere near optimal as far as the design is concerned, meaning the contributions going into the policy are going to assume base premium accounts, 100% insurance expense, a great example of what not to do. What you will see, though, as a consistency are the top 4 companies have always come out on top. So let's take a look. What we've got here is a full disclosure report. Now it's from 1984 through 2004. We can get a couple updated ones. We're going to look at that as far as standalone policies are concerned. But this is a piece that will give you several companies here. Is that big enough? A little bit bigger? That's good. Cool. We've got Guardian, Man Life, Massachusetts, that's Mass Mutual, Mutual Trust, National Life, New York Life, Northwestern Mutual, and Penn Mutual. A lot of data here. What we're going to zoom over to is, let's look at this. What's highlighted in yellow, which are actual internal rate of returns. Now, one thing we're going to also touch on here is the annual premium. We don't want to look at the net cash values because these accounts assumed basic premium payments, meaning I'm only paying my premium. They were sold for a death benefit, and each company priced things differently. Back in the day when people would just shop for death benefit. And why I'm touching on this is typically a company with a higher base premium, you might recall this from one of our dividend study videos, the higher the base premium often results in a higher dividend. Meaning companies with higher premiums in these examples will often have a somewhat inflated internal rate of return. So it's not really a fair comparison when we're comparing companies to companies, but it will show historical averages as far as who's actually delivered, right? So when I take out a policy, consistent things that need to fall in line are what? Policy design, minimize my premium, maximize my cash. 4 major mutual companies, we've seen that consistently deliver among policyholders. So when we look at this sheet here, what we've got in red is Guardian, Mass Mutual, New York Life, and Northwestern Mutual. We crammed them in there. And what you'll find when we look at the IRRs here, this is over a 20-year study. Guardian, 5.17. Mass Mutual, 4.87. New York Life 4.85, Northwestern 5.83. Compared to everyone else, what's interesting on the bottom here, here's Penn Mutual, which they're an A-rated company, but the thing about them is they have always illustrated, especially today, higher returns than everyone else. People see them and use the expression, they stomp the competition. Well, on paper, via an illustration, they do. The main reason we don't use them a whole lot is because they have zero proof of anything even on par with the big four. And that's with designing policies properly, which will inflate these returns. So these are basic premium accounts, and the consistency here is you see a huge gap from the major mutuals compared to everyone else. If we scroll down here, let's do the same thing. The first one was on a 45-year-old male. This is on a 55-year-old male. Same exact comparison. We want to look at the premiums here. Because it's a 55-year-old male instead of a 45-year-old male, naturally, when I'm just buying a policy for death benefit, my premium is going to be higher. All right, so here's my annualized premium, almost double compared to the last example. Let's just go to the important piece. Again, Guardian, Mass Mutual, New York Life, Northwestern Mutual. Those are your cream of the crop. When you look at your other carriers, right, that 1.9% is Mutual Trust. That 3%, 3.06 is Penn Mutual. All the other guys, New York Life was at 3.85 or 3.87. Everyone else is 4% plus. Northwestern was very strong back then at 5.38%. Main point, four major mutuals have always gone back and forth as far as who's on top with the actual net returns. And especially when we compare them to everyone else, this proves it. We're going to show you much more detailed proof in a couple other segments. Big guys have always delivered. That's why we recommend them to everyone, regardless if you work with us or a direct agent through a company. They've produced the highest returns. Always make sure you're looking at one of the four major mutual companies.